Welcome to HuhLogy, where logic takes a break and curiosity runs wild. Today's topic will make you say, huh? They say things aren't always what they seem, and this video will prove it. You see, we all have these little facts we've believed forever, but when you look closer, they kinda fall apart. So let's dive in and see which of those truths aren't so true after all. Quick note, all this info is basically collected from the internet. And honestly, this video is mainly to keep you company while you're having lunch, dinner, or just need some background noise while studying, working, showering, or doing the dishes. So just sit back, enjoy, and drop a comment. Alright, let's jump into the first myth. Santa Claus's clothes were originally red. The image of Santa Claus was inspired by Saint Nicholas. In the earliest descriptions, his clothes were often green, brown, or white. But the version of Santa Claus wearing a red outfit with black boots, which is the one widely popular today, actually came from a Coca-Cola advertisement during Christmas. From there, the image of Santa Claus in a red suit was born. So basically, an entire generation was tricked into believing in Santa Claus all because of marketing. If that had been a Pepsi ad instead, then Santa would probably look like this. Incognito mode is safe. At this point, a lot of people probably feel a bit guilty. But incognito mode doesn't actually make you anonymous. All it really does is stop your browsing history from being saved on your own browser. It helps make sure that other people using the same device won't know you just watched some XX video or searched for a really dumb question. However, your activity is still logged by the websites you visit and also by your internet provider. Monitoring agencies such as your workplace, school, or even the government can still track you through your IP address. It's just a matter of whether they want to or not. So if you really think incognito mode makes you safe, just remember that going to an internet cafe and getting caught on video would probably expose you much worse. Milk is super healthy for all ages. Milk commercials always make it sound like everyone, young or old, should drink a tall glass of milk every day. But research shows that the real benefits are strongest for kids, since they're still building bones and growing. Adults don't necessarily need milk the way we've been taught, and for some, lactose intolerance makes it more trouble than it's worth. So sure, milk can be healthy, but it's not the magical super drink for all ages, the ads claim. Carrots improve your night vision. People often say that eating a lot of carrots helps you see in the dark. Sounds healthy and kind of magical, right? But the truth is, this whole idea actually started as a wartime myth. During World War II, the British Royal Air Force had just invented radar technology, which allowed their pilots to detect enemy aircraft even at night. To keep this secret from the Germans, they spread a clever story that their pilots had incredible night vision because they ate lots of carrots. The public believed it, and soon everyone started munching carrots, hoping to see in the dark. Scientifically, carrots do contain vitamin A, which is good for maintaining healthy eyes. But it won't give you superhuman night vision, no matter how many carrots you eat. So yes, carrots are great for your diet, but they're not going to turn you into Batman. Humans evolved from chimpanzees. A lot of people still believe that humans evolved directly from chimpanzees, but that's not actually true. Humans and chimps share a common ancestor that lived around 6 to 7 million years ago. Meaning we're like distant cousins, not parent and child. It's just like how you and your cousin share the same grandparent, but one of you didn't evolve from the other. That ancient ancestor eventually branched into two separate evolutionary lines, one leading to modern humans and the other to modern chimpanzees. Chimps are our closest living relatives, sharing about 98 to 99% of our DNA, but we've each followed our own evolutionary path for millions of years. So, no. Your great-great-great-great-grandpa wasn't a chimp in a tuxedo holding a banana. We're simply cousins who took very different directions on the family tree of life. Watching TV too close will make you blind. A lot of us grew up being told that if you sit too close to the TV, you'll ruin your eyesight or even go blind. But that's just not true. Modern TVs emit very low levels of radiation, far too little to cause blindness. The worst that can happen is some temporary eye strain or headaches if you stare too long. So yeah, maybe scoot back for comfort, but you're not going to go blind from binge-watching cartoons 2 feet away. Bulls get angry when they see red. Bulls are said to get provoked when they see red. But in reality, bulls can't even see the color red. They're basically colorblind to it. To a bull, red just looks like gray. So the whole idea that bulls hate red is more like a trick to make the story catchier and easier to remember for the public. Like when you think of Spain, you instantly picture bullfighting and that iconic red cape. If it were just a plain piece of cloth, a stick, or some random object used to taunt the bull, it wouldn't go viral at all. Because honestly, that would just look like teasing a dog. Goldfish have a 3-second memory. People say goldfish are stupid, right? Like, they can only remember things for 3 seconds? Well, that's totally false. Scientists have tested this and found that goldfish can actually remember things for weeks, even months. They can recognize shapes, colors, and even their owners, especially the one who feeds them. So where did this myth even come from? Nobody knows for sure, but it's been around for decades. Probably because goldfish just look kinda blank. You know, they stare at you, blink, and swim away. So people assumed they forgot everything instantly. In reality, their memory is actually way better than we thought. Honestly, probably longer than your memory for your online passwords. So next time you call someone a goldfish, maybe don't. That little fish might just remember it. Fruit juice is good for your health. Actually, juice isn't as healthy as people think. When you drink juice, what your body mostly takes in is sugar, liquid, and flavor. The dietary fiber, which is in the pulp, gets removed. Because of that, the sugar in fruit juice is absorbed very quickly, causing your blood sugar levels to spike. That's why, after drinking a lot of juice, you might feel a little dizzy, almost like you're tipsy. It's also important to distinguish between juice and smoothies. A smoothie still contains the whole fruit, including the fiber, while juice doesn't. The healthier choice is to just eat the whole fruit. It gives you fiber, nutrients, and still tastes good. That said, a cold glass of juice on a hot day can still feel refreshing and pretty tasty. Einstein failed math as a student. You've probably heard that Einstein was terrible at math as a kid. Funny story, but it's just a myth. In reality, Einstein was great at math from an early age and even mastered advanced concepts while still young. The idea that Einstein failed math just spread around because it makes his genius sound even more dramatic. But nope, the guy was doing integrals before most of us were still counting on our fingers. Speaking of legendary scientists, here's another fun myth that's been flying around for years. Newton discovered the law of universal gravitation because an apple fell on his head. To clarify, this is just a popular anecdote that makes Newton's story sound more interesting. In reality, back in 1665, when the plague broke out in the city where he was studying, Newton returned to his family estate, Woolsthorpe Manor. One day, while sitting there, he saw an apple fall onto the ground, or onto the table, not on his head. From that moment, he began to ask questions, which eventually led him to develop the law of universal gravitation. If the apple had really fallen on his head, the only thing he would have felt was pain, not inspiration. You need to drink 2 liters of water a day. I used to believe this one too, but turns out it's not exactly correct. What's true is, you need to stay properly hydrated, but the amount of water your body needs depends on many factors, such as your weight, health condition, and how active you are. Drinking too much water can actually be harmful. It can dilute the sodium in your blood, strain your kidneys, and of course, make you pee all the time. If you chug too much water in one go, it can even cause blood vessels in your brain to swell. Like, imagine coming home from work or the gym, exhausted, then downing 3 bottles of water in one shot. You might be in serious trouble. A simple way to tell if you're drinking enough is to check the color of your urine. Clear means you're drinking a bit too much. Light yellow means you're doing just right. Dark yellow means you're dehydrated. And if it's pinkish, either you just ate dragon fruit or you're peeing blood. If it's not the dragon fruit, go see a doctor immediately. And speaking of urine, there's another myth about it that's surprisingly common and, honestly, a little gross. Urine can relieve the pain from a jellyfish sting. This is mostly a piece of folk wisdom that's been passed around, claiming that if you get stung by a jellyfish, all you need to do is pee on the wound to reduce the pain. It's kind of like the old belief that spitting on a mosquito bite makes it feel better. Honestly, who even came up with this idea? In reality, urinating directly onto a wound can cause infection or even make the pain worse. The recommended first aid for jellyfish stings is to rinse the area with seawater, vinegar, or hot water. And, well, if you want to get a little dark humor out of it, toasting some peanuts and making Jellyfish salad would definitely smell better than peeing on yourself. Lightning never strikes the same place twice. People love to say, "Don't worry, lightning never strikes the same place twice." Sounds comforting, but it's completely wrong. Tall structures like skyscrapers, towers, or mountain peaks get struck multiple times because they're literally the easiest targets. For example, the CN Tower in Canada is basically a lightning magnet. At 553 meters tall, it gets struck around 75 times a year. It's so frequent that the tower has a built-in lightning protection system that channels each strike safely to the ground. Fun fact, during big storms, you can actually see lightning bolts dancing around its tip. It's like nature's own light show. Playing dead when you meet a bear will keep you safe. This one actually depends on the type of bear. If you encounter a brown bear, then playing dead might work, because these bears usually attack only when they feel threatened or when their territory is invaded. Lying down and pretending to be dead may convince them that you're no longer a threat, so they lose interest and walk away. But if you run into a black bear and try the same trick, it might check to see if you're really dead or not, and that's not something you want to test. Honestly, if I ever meet a bear, I have no idea what I'd actually do. After all, I'm just some guy reading scripts I found online. Waking up a sleepwalker is dangerous. Many people believe that waking a sleepwalker will make them panic, lose control, or even turn violent. But according to some sources, it's not really that dangerous. Usually, when you wake them up, they'll just be confused and startled. Like, wait, why am I standing here when I was just asleep? If they do get violent, that's often because they already have some psychological issues going on. The safest approach: wake them gently and guide them back to bed. Personally, I've never actually seen someone sleepwalk, so I don't know if it's okay to just let them roam around the house, but probably better not. And if you've ever seen The Conjuring 1, you'll know that sleepwalking can be terrifying. Humans only use 10% of their brain. This one is everywhere. Online articles, videos claiming we only use 10% of our brain. Then they add those dramatic headlines like, "What if humans used 100% of their brain?" or "Unlock your hidden potential." But honestly, that should just stay as a meme. There's no scientific evidence behind it. The truth is, we already use 100% of our brain. But not all of it is focused on thinking. A huge part of it is keeping your body running, moving your limbs, controlling your organs, keeping you alive. If the brain really worked at only 10%, we probably couldn't even breathe. Everything we do is brain-controlled. That said, there are situations where people seem to use just 10% brain power, like when Manchester United plays against Manchester City, or when someone confesses their love but makes it sound like they're filing a leave request, or me, sitting through those videos about 1 dog year equals 7 human years. 1 dog year equals 7 human years. This one isn't completely wrong, but it's not entirely right either. It oversimplifies things. A dog's aging rate depends on its breed, size, and life stage. For example, during the first 2 years of life, a dog ages about 15 human years. After that, the pace slows, about 4 to 5 human years for every dog year. Smaller breeds tend to age slower and live longer than big breeds like golden retrievers or Labradors. The 5-second rule. You know when food falls on the ground and if you pick it up within the first 5 seconds, it's supposedly still clean. But like do bacteria or dirt, just wait politely for 5 seconds before jumping on it. Of course not. This rule was actually tested in a segment on Discovery Channel's Mythbusters. They found out that time isn't the deciding factor at all when food touches bacteria. Just 2 seconds of contact is already more than enough for it to get contaminated. Shaving makes hair grow back thicker. When you shave, basically all you're doing is removing the part of the hair that's above the surface of the skin. The root the follicle is still there, because shaving cuts the hair flat at the tip. When it grows back, it feels coarser and looks darker, so people think it's thicker. But if shaving really made hair grow back thicker, then guys would literally have mouths full of hair like. No joke. This is more of a subjective feeling that got passed around rather than something backed by actual science. Sugar makes kids hyperactive. Many parents believe that once their kids eat candy, drink soda, or have a slice of birthday cake, they instantly turn into little tornadoes, bouncing off the walls and running around like crazy. But in reality, science has shown that there is no direct link between sugar and hyperactivity in children. This misunderstanding mostly comes from the parents themselves. Think about it. When kids go to birthday parties, holidays, or other celebrations, there is always a mountain of sweets and sugary drinks. And yes, the kids do get super excited, laughing, shouting, and running wild. So parents naturally connect the dots and think, ah, it must be the sugar. In fact, the real reason kids are hyper at those times is the fun atmosphere, the games, the friends, and the freedom to let loose, not the sugar. Clinical studies have tested this by giving kids lots of sugar and monitoring their behavior. The result? No significant difference in activity levels compared to kids who had little or no sugar. In other words, sugar does not magically turn children into hyperactive superheroes. Of course, eating too much sugar is still bad for health. It causes tooth decay, increases the risk of obesity, and can lead to diabetes. But saying sugar is the reason kids go wild is simply a popular myth. Dogs sweat through their tongues. In reality, dogs actually have very few sweat glands, and most of them are on their paw pads. Dogs don't sweat directly through their tongues the way humans sweat through their skin. I have no idea who started that rumor. Instead, dogs regulate their temperature by panting. When they pant, air passes over the tongue and helps cool the body down. Oh, and by the way, those black spots you sometimes see on a dog's tongue, they're kind of like freckles or moles on humans, caused by melanin pigment buildup. People often say that a dog with spots on its tongue is smarter. But then, does that mean if someone has a bunch of moles, they're automatically a genius? Here's another myth about sweating, this time with humans. Sweating helps you lose fat. A lot of people think that the more you sweat, the faster you burn fat. That's why, at the gym or while running, they try to sweat as much as possible. But actually, what comes out with sweat isn't fat. It's just water and minerals. That's why after a football match, players usually drink salted lemonade or electrolyte drinks to replenish minerals and restore energy. Oh, and another fact. Sweat itself doesn't actually have a smell. It's basically just water. What makes sweat stink is the bacteria on your skin. The more closed off and poorly ventilated the area of skin is, the worse it smells. And I'm pretty sure everyone already knows exactly which body parts those are. Or, for example, if your shirt is dirty and sweat soaks into it, that's when the smell really kicks in. Bats are blind. Not only are bats not blind, but some species actually have better eyesight than humans, especially in low-light conditions. Only a few types of bats have weaker vision, probably because they're busy wearing little face masks. Bats mainly rely on echolocation, using sound waves to detect prey and navigate, which is actually way more effective than eyesight in the dark. So the whole bats are blind idea probably came from the fact that they're nocturnal and don't rely much on their eyes when hunting. The two sides of a coin always have a 50-50 chance. In theory, the probability of landing heads or tails should be equal, but in reality, a study by Dr. Percy Diakonis at Stanford University with over 350,000 coin tosses showed that the chance of landing on heads is about 50.8%. That means out of 350,000 tosses, heads appeared roughly 1% more often than tails. Mice love cheese. Well, that idea mainly comes from movies. In reality, the main diet of mice is grains and crops such as rice, corn, sweet potatoes, and cassava. Swallowing chewing gum blocks the intestines. Up until now, I still believed this was true, thinking that if you swallowed gum, it would just stay there for 7 years before finally dissolving. But actually, all you need to do is go to the bathroom and the chewing gum will come out along with everything else. But hey, don't anyone go around swallowing gum just to test it out when you poop, okay? And that wraps up all the common misconceptions that many people usually have. There are more out there, of course, but I don't think they're as popular. Plus, some of them are still up for debate, so I didn't include them this time. So, what do you guys think? Did I get any of these corrections wrong? Let me know in the comments. I'm HuhLogy, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any of our videos.